Again, the one thing I was saying was I look around the room and basically we're talking to, tonight seems to be the majority of the choir. People that continue to keep themselves informed and, but I'm glad because if we can get on a similar page, then it's going to take a lot more than 10 to 20 people to help educate the rest of the community as to why we're doing this. So right off the bat, the first thing we'll take, I'll take 10 minutes and just some general questions, in particular any negative questions about why we shouldn't consolidate. And then we'll take questions on what's going on, what is it going to benefit the village, the town, Fort Montgomery as a hamlet, and the town in general. Okay, so, and again, just so we know, when we leave tonight, oh, I didn't say this, and I should have. Our goal is to have at least 5 of these before. My goal right now is to have, hopefully, if we can get it done, have the police on the November ballot for a permissive referendum in November. Negative comments on consolidation. Moving on. Questions?
How much are we going to save?
Excellent question. On the planning board, as the numbers are shown right now,
Planning board.
no, I know that. That's how I'm leading my question. If you look at it individually by department, there are some areas where we're not going to see any amazing savings. We're not going to see any great changes. But we have to have all the pieces in place to get full consolidation. The full consolidation, and this is what we were told by the gentleman from state. Just money-wise, with full consolidation, we are eligible for money for each individual consolidation, police, DPW, and whatnot, not just in the putting it together and planning, but for example, with the police, we are eligible for $400,000 to consolidate just the police. Now, in the past, what this has gone to is, whether it's a new building, redoing an old building to make sure it can house the entire force, equipment where the police department along with the town and village put together, well, we can't consolidate unless we have a helicopter. They put it through, and if it's in within the money and whatever, they get a helicopter. We don't need a helicopter.
The fire department wants the helicopter.
I know.
Not the toys.
But an example, which right now we have our engineer and the 2 chiefs, they've already looked at, they've already gone through about 50% of staffing and personnel, and we're tweaking that now. I've already asked Ken to talk to our engineer, and they're working on right now possibilities for where we're going to house the new force. Whether it's going to, there's only 3 options. It's the village hall, the town hall, or another hall. That's it. So the 2 of them are looking at doing what's the best. I'm leaning towards the village hall only because I would love to see a nice chunk of that money go to get all 3 floors up and running. But then at the same time, there's got to be a decision if that goes there, when we do full consolidation, you know, are we going to still use both buildings, or are we going to be able to sell a building? That was something that the gentleman from state also brought up when we talked savings. He said if you can house them all, which maybe the answer is put the jail down and put the police down in the town hall, but build out the back. Possibly get that empty lot that's one over from the town hall, put something there, have the force down at the bottom, have commerce up top, and have the force right there with town hall. These are options that are being looked at. The one big thing that I would love to see, and which is why I'd like to have it all here or there, is not transporting prisoners 2 blocks every time you have someone. I would love to see the jail with the court, so that as you take them out, you walk them upstairs, you walk them next door, and that's it. You're not parading them out in the middle of Main Street. in cuffs. Not that we have a lot of crime, but it's still not a good thing. So those are options that are being looked at as far as that. The main savings, besides the numbers to this, the individual numbers have yet to be worked out to its fullest. But as a business administration person, efficiency will get us a better number. That's not what we're going to win. We're going to win with the $800,000 to $1 million that the state is offering towns and villages when they fully consolidate. How long is that program going to last? As long as it lasts. The sooner we get in on it, the more money we make. It is an incentive from the state for all these towns and villages to consolidate. Very few, one or two so far since they started the program, have actually been capturing that money. Two others tried and failed. That to me, and 80% of that money, just so people understand also, it's not we get $800,000 and we're like, oh cool, we'll pay down the debt. Oh cool, we'll do a project out in Saturday. No, 80% of the money that we get from that program has to go to lowering taxes, stabilizing taxes, and specifically for those people that it's going to go both ways, but a lot of people think that Fort Montgomery will be spending a lot more money than Highland Falls. That's where that money is coming, to stabilize. So it's not going to be $400 more on your taxes. That money is there to bring that number back down to a normal figure.
For how long?
According to state,
Until they run out of money.
well, that money will come when they run out. But according to the state, even it's not. When I talked to him, he had talked about the fact that within 3 to 5 years, a lot of it stabilizes to begin with. We're not going to see day one. We're not going to see the majority of the money that we're going to save from the actual departments of consolidation, because we'll use the police. All the police are moving over. The force, and this is what I had a meeting with the police yesterday, just so they understand, so they can embrace consolidation a little bit more. Though there was a misquote. It wasn't me that said our police force was mediocre. Our Chief Quinn had not said the people are mediocre. He said the structure was mediocre. Because when you have two departments trying to do the same thing, you have the basics. But when you have 10 and 10 and now you have 20, I will give you an example for our police force. Having approximately the same number of officers, the way Chief Quinn and now Chief Scott is working on the numbers. This is before the boards tear it apart, which we are going to, and we will get a lower number. Because they went for their Christmas list, and according to his numbers, he was $200 to $300 lower than both departments combined, just straight out combined. This much money for Highland Falls, this much money for the town, put them together. Now we did a new force. The cost was $200,000 to $300,000 less than the cost of the two forces as of now. But now we talk efficiency. This is why when Chief Quinn talked about mediocre to a great force, we can't afford full-time detectives. We can't afford other full-time officers that are specialists right now. But when we combine and we have both groups coming and everything then we can afford, under his model, which again, the boards will probably go for less. I think we should. I don't know. In his model right now, the village has a part-time detective. He's a detective that deals with cases, but he's only an official detective 4 hours a week. He's in regular uniform the rest of the week. Under the new regime, if we do it, 2 full-time detectives and 2 part-time detectives. Right now, we have slots for 10 full-time officers. We have 8 because of, they're out. 2 officers are out. We have 8 right now. We have slots for 10. Right now, the new force, there's slots for 10. But they're all more managerial and more specialized officers. Whereas in now, there's just regular patrolmen. We just went to 2 sergeants from 1. We used to have 2 for a while. We only had 1 for a long period of time, and we just went back to 2 because one of our officers passed the test. And we need a minimum of 2 sergeants in the village. Right now, under the new force, 5 sergeants. There's a sergeant on every shift. What does that mean? It means better management. It means better, it means more, supervision, control, accountability, thank you. All that too, but I'm looking for accountability. When I go for a midnight shift and there's an issue, and there's 2 officers on, I say, oh, now I gotta go to the sergeant, this has to be fixed. These people don't know what they're doing. We have great people, but I don't care what department you're in and what company you have, people don't know what they're doing. Or they just did something wrong, let's make sure they didn't do it again. Right now, even now that we added the next sergeant, we barely have enough to do management in the small force that we have. We have 10 part-timers, 10 full-timers. We need to increase to at least 15 because for those that have watched, seen Facebook or read a couple letters, right now we're on an overtime freeze with all our departments due to the fact that the overtime has been abused, we feel. We're getting a lot of grief about that, particularly from the police. We'll be discussing that this coming board meeting. Because day one, as we set the freeze, we worked and said, we have to come up with a fix as soon as possible. But to get back to it, don't let me fall off track, Jim.
No, just a question about police. So, do you know, or maybe we can find out, how many miles of road the town has to patrol now, and how many miles of road the village has to patrol now?
10 total.
10 each?
10 total.
The question is, how many does the town have
That's
to
what
patrol
we came up with.
and the village have to patrol?
It was 10
Why?
It was 10 total miles up and down.
Just wondering,
In this
how many,
100
why?
miles.
Because, so if it's 10 total, and let's say there's 7 miles in the town that needs to be patrolled, and you have to have police officers patrolling that general area, and there's only 3 in the village, the true question is going to be, are there going to be districts that arise? I.e., like with the sewer, there's more infrastructure in the village than there is in the town. So when something goes wrong, is everybody going to pay into that pot to redo the infrastructure in the village? Not only the sewer, the roads, the sidewalks, including the towns. Everybody going to pay the same amount, or are we going to have districts? There's more lights in the village. There's going to be a light bill that you get from O&R, right? We all get one. The town gets one, the village gets one. We're going to combine that, and everybody's going to share in that, or is there going to be districts?
Generally, the successful models do create districts for that purpose because it is it's not equitable.
So the village will be paying more based on their infrastructure. That's what
Well,
you're
for
saying?
sewer and water?
Population.
For sewer,
We're
water,
talking sewer and water,
DPW,
he's talking about police,
Well,
electric.
for everything, DPW.
Here's the thing, and I understand what you're saying, and if we were San Francisco, I would say, yeah, we have districts. We are, and this is exactly why I want these meetings. I don't have all the answers, and I don't have the answer right now. And I want to hear as many people who feel that they have input, because we will come up with the best solution. But, well, let's look at the tiny picture, but let's look at the big picture.
Yeah, lighting districts, yes, Police, not necessarily.
I would definitely say no, because then we're gonna fall in the same area we have now, where bottom line, we are surrounded by 3 mountains and a river. We're cut off from everyone. The only way we're gonna survive is together. We need one government. That's what it's gotta come down to.
And just if I can interject, and what districts does, it separates us. That's all I'm saying.
Districts can definitely, without question, be a conversation. With the police, I don't think it is. I don't think, that's a problem, and I'll tell you why. Because we deal with this now. We have districts, and there's lines. Right off the bat, it's not my problem. And let me just start off at the highest end, the mayor and the supervisor. I've said this 100 times. You can put Mother Teresa down in the town and Jesus up at the village. They're gonna fight. Because at some point, they're gonna find disagreements, and they're gonna say, we have to do it, and that's not it. That's why we have to go to one government. Fact of the matter is, we're being laughed at outside of this community. We're being laughed at by West Point, by the county, by the state, and by everyone else that we ask for help for. Because of our actions, not even because of words. Just the actions we had on the last time we tried to get the land back. And we spent about $300,000 of tax dollars to fight between the town and the village over who's going to control it, and nobody does. For those that don't know, we don't control it either. Talking to the lawyers, nobody controls it. That land that we got, it's not there. It's physically there. We can't touch it. Together is the only way we're going to pull anything off. We've got to grow, and we've got to do it together. That's top down. Police, which is what we're going to be concentrating on now, this is why, 2 reasons why we're doing it piecemeal instead of just going, we dissolve and let the town take it. 1, we don't want to put that burden on the town like that. We feel that by doing it by department, we're able to look at each department a little closer, find the best solution, and go to the next department. And the third, most importantly to the board, was the people. Was to make sure that the people that have been with us for 15, 20 years are taken care of. That when we do, because that's already the discussions with the police last night. I have this many years in, where am I going? It's going to be worked out. Bottom line. Yes.
Going back at least 30, 35 years, I've been involved in 3 major consolidation studies. The last one was with police. The goal in the consolidation is, number 1, to improve service. Number 2 is to save money, and ideally is to do both. The hazard with any of these consolidations, that is a bigger pot, can end up spending more than the 2 individuals. That's up to the governmental people. That happens a lot. Right now, if you're only talking about police, it's one thing. I am very supportive of all the police departments. However, outside the village of Highland Falls, we are over-policed. Right now, normally 1 police officer on duty in the town of Highlands outside the village is all that I feel as a citizen is necessary. Most of what they do is vehicle and traffic stuff. 2 weeks ago on a Saturday night, the town had 3 cars on duty at the same time. 1 at the Chestnut Mark sitting, 1 at the firehouse sitting, 1 at Rockwell's sitting. There's absolutely no need for 3 police cars sitting in Fort Montgomery at the same time. At the same time, there's probably 2 in the village. We're also covered by the New York State Police, which has the primary responsibility for 9W, 293, and all of the other state roads. We're covered by the Bear Mountain Police, who has jurisdiction in 2 states. The town, I believe, is spending way too much money on police. When it comes to the village, when you're talking about having full-time detectives and part-time detectives, why not leave that up to an agency that has more wherewithal than any of us do, the New York State Police? I think that everything you've said tonight indicates to me as a citizen that you're going to have a much larger police function in the town of Highlands than you do now.
No. What I said was, and just so we're clear, we got the Christmas list. Spending less money than what we're spending now, we could have this. The boards have not had a chance to come back together to tear that list up. Okay, and that's traditionally what we do. They ask for this, you get this, that's what we can afford. I agree with you. That's one of the reasons why, as far as being over-policed, that's one of the reasons why with a combination, you can better, right now, if there's 3 and 2, that's 5 on a Tuesday night.
With 9 miles of town
Right.
running, about the same in the village.
Do we need a total of 3? Do we need a total of 2? Do we need to have a better relationship with, and that's the other thing, is that with one government, I believe we'll have better communication with our state agencies and with our county agencies. One person to talk to, one group to talk to. Not, well, is this ours, is that theirs? That little bit above the water tanks on 9W, village, town, where, we have to stop here, we can't stop here. But I agree, no, we do not want a bigger force. We want a productive force, a more streamlined force. As I personally would love to see, and that's just me, at least I would love to see a full-time detective. And I'm not gonna lie, and people will be upset. No, does Fort Montgomery need a full-time detective? No,
No.
we do. The village needs a full-time detective. I think with a full-time detective, and all you're talking about is an officer that's doing that particular work. If there's a call or there's something else, they can respond if they're not in the middle of a case. Do we have cases every day? No. But people, it's obvious. We have 3 or 4 drug issues that aren't being handled. There's 2 or 3 other issues that the detective handles. And then he can do the lighter, lower stuff. For those who've seen some things, the detective is tracking down who stole someone's bike. Detective. Really, it's an officer that does a lot of it anyway. But we don't have anybody, with the exception of a couple hours, that is constantly going after, and again, to make one beautiful community. Because we have some issues here.
The other thing you mentioned about districts, in some areas, I think that's the only reasonable way to do it because of existing debt to be paid back.
You would
And
not,
for areas that
right.
are benefit areas, that you would have to have districts. When it comes to the town-wide things, you have to remember that the average house in the town outside the village is assessed for more than the average house inside the village. So for the same service, the average house outside the village is going to pay more for the same service that the person inside. The garbage collection now is completely unfair the way it's being done. It's based on assessed valuation. A person with a house in Corbin Hill is putting out garbage, and a person in, say, Hudson View Terrace Mobile Home Park is putting out the same amount of garbage. But based on assessed valuation, the single-family home is paying a hell of a lot more for the same service. So some of those things need to be rectified too. That's a town-wide problem that they could be looking at now. How do we make the garbage collection equitable? It should be more of a user service. You use it, the more you use it, the more you should pay for it. That isn't the way it works now.
I agree.
The people that use it the least are paying the most.
I agree, and for garbage, that is without question something that's tangible and you can work on it, and there are studies here and there. There are certain things, again, I think because of our size, certain things, the garbage is a whole other animal, and that can be dealt with. And again, it's something that's just got to keep pushing. And I don't mind when people call me and push issues. Some are dead, some are not. I'll also talk to DPW. It's another area where combined, I believe that we can do so much more. There are times within the town where one guy calls in sick, there is no DPW crew.
There's one thing about that. I remember that at the one study that I was on, is that the professional that was running the study with us is giving supporting information and going along the meeting, is that both the town and village DPWs, and I don't think it's a lot different now, were working on what they considered a skeleton crew.
Right.
So when you combine the two, how can you possibly save any money? You can't. The only way you save money in consolidations is by eliminating people over a period of time. So by combining the two, you're not going to eliminate anybody in the town and the village, so where are you going to save any money with the highway?
You're going to save money by, Charlie, word? Efficiency. Thank you. Yes. I apologize. It's a little late. you're gonna save money by efficiency, and this is what we were talking about before. There are certain areas where, no, we're not gonna save $100,000 on this department every year. But efficiency, for those working, and I mean, you've seen it, but for me, the last 2 years, working with the departments and working with the DPW, there's certain pieces of equipment, you can't, the town and the village can't buy the same piece of equipment. And yet we may need it. And at the same time, again, we talked about Mother Teresa and Jesus, depending on how everyone's feeling that day, that piece of equipment's down, sorry, because he's pissed off at the other guy. Or they didn't get along, or the mayor and supervisor were having issues. No, we're not giving them anything. Has it happened? Yeah. People say it hasn't, it has. Okay? And that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about also the fact that there are days when we need an extra 2 people for a project. Fort Montgomery needs an extra 2 people for a project. And we have worked in the past for years on certain ones, but not day to day. Day to day will give us, and someone can try to say it wouldn't, I won't believe it. A day to day having the crews together, saying, you know what, right now we have to concentrate on this. Because there are days when Fort Montgomery's doing nothing, and there are days when Highland Falls is doing nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean there's an hour or 2. I'm not saying 8 hours and we're standing around doing nothing. I'm saying they're finished, there's really nothing we can get out, relax for a little bit, blah, 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 blah. Yet, if there were 2 or 3 smaller projects over here that we needed to be done, let's get that done. Plus, we had enough guys to do it. We can split the 2 crews. You're right. We do not have any extra people on DPW. The town, I think, has less than they need. And they're working with it. They're both skeleton crews. Nobody will be excised out of the DPW. The benefit of that is going to be efficiency.
See, then you're only accomplishing 1 out of the 2
I'll take it.
goals.
I'll take it. We're not spending more money. But the other way we're going to save money is use of building, use of equipment, use of vehicles.
See, that's hard. That's hard.
It's about management.
Neither one can house the other 2.
But in our situation, this is where we are. Again, the state is telling us we're going to be allowed a certain amount of money.
But
We're
we're
gonna-
going to run out, right?
No, easy.
Can I circle back on
Hold on,
that?
let me just finish the one thing, then circle it. With our specific DPW issue. No, this is not the run out money. This is the, if you consolidate your DPW, you'll get $200,000. One time. At the town, right now, where the town is located, I was approached, now, I didn't see the sales, but I assume it's still there. I was approached a year and a half ago about a gentleman that owns 2 acres that butts up against the town property. He's willing to sell it. With that $200,000, buy that, build a much bigger facility, 1 facility.
But that could end up costing you more money than saving money, right?
Management. So it's about management. And it's about doing the study prior to. You're right now, no one can house everything.
Nope.
But if we have money that's not our tax dollars, that can help us build a bigger facility, and sell off the others. Sell pieces off. We don't need to hold on to it. If we don't need the village hall, sell it off as offices. There's no reason to hold on to these pieces. I don't want it. I don't want responsibility for some of the other buildings we have. If I can get them over to the towns.
It's a shame, at one time, the village and the town were consolidated. The town and the village were both in the town hall. The police station, the village police station was in the town hall. It was consolidated, and everybody went separate.
That's sad.
It is, but that's the way it was. It was separated.
I
Agree.
found these things from 1974, and it talked about consolidation, and things are changed here. I read it over. I have something from 95, and then I have something from, so it's been going on a long time. I just remember reading this. It says, with regard to the question of merger, the consultant recommends the entire town of Highlands, well, whatever. The consultant points out that the merger is the only means under New York state law to assure all residents of the town, including the village, are taxed only for the services they receive to the extent it's possible to determine this. I mean, this is a great study. It is in 1974. It's from a legal consultant
Who did that?
and Douglas Kingsley Associates.
Yeah, I was on that study.
Well, I was going to say, I remember, I don't remember, I just remember being somewhere where I picked this up. So the same thing they're saying in 1974
Have you seen that?
comes, I'm going to give it to you because I just,
It might,
And
that
then-
might be helpful.
there's a little change in, I mean, this was more intense than I thought because I haven't looked at it for 30 years. This also is another, not so much an actual consultant for the our town and village, but how one goes about rhyme or reason for doing it, and the reasons are all efficiency, management, and then it has some legal, you probably have this, I think. We've got some new things, and then there's petitions here, but this one I found, it seems to be answering a lot of exactly what you're saying, and it's now 40 years
years
later. So you're older than I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely not. He was involved when he was
I was
6. He
a
was involved.
child. I was in kindergarten. when I
But
took
Mr.
this
Tonneson,
one.
just so you're aware,
But it's,
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying it actually touched bases what you're saying now. There's also in here, a consultant worked with the taxes, found the taxes of the village at 1 point per thousand, taxes of the town, and then how when it was consolidated, they both rise
Right.
to about the same, but one will rise and one may come down, and they'll give you the study for and also explaining why it need not be. But as far as this was, and the telling you that you'll save 55,000 in one area will probably be like 5,500,000 now, 40 years later, but maybe I'll give this to you, and maybe if you want to make copies for it. And then I gave Kelly the system on how to do it.
Have them make copies for
I will.
Circling back.
So
Circling
I
back.
just wanted to say that it's been going on, and now just your questions, Jimmy's questions, and somebody else's all answered, was actually answered 40 years ago, and then reinstated in about 1995, 96 in this. And I think I worked with John
I think
on
it's got to
that.
be 95 at the most recent, because
I have one more somewhere under Pataki's Downtown Now merger that we did. So, but they're all saying the same thing.
yeah, the second document you
Second
got
is really good.
was produced by the Department of State, and then under Pataki, because it was
Right, this is
generally
almost last year.
recognized that there were stumbling blocks that you're touching on. So we tried to streamline the mechanisms for getting to that consolidation, getting it on ballots and giving the residents a greater voice. That was accomplished, and there are some updated versions of what you've got in your hand. But then also what was apparent, and what Bobby just said, some things go up, others go down, and eventually there's a leveling off. The shared services program, or the quality communities, the names change from Pataki to the new Cuomo. But there is a commitment on the state's part, because both Pataki and Andrew Cuomo agree that it is absolutely asinine to have so many units of local government in the state of New York. We are wasting money, and the state feels strongly enough about it that they appropriated this rather large fund to provide ongoing incentives and benefits to the communities that actually succeed in consolidating. So unless the perspective of the governor and the administration changes somewhere down the line that they want to encourage multiple new villages, I think there will remain that money available, and it's based on our tax levy. And those funds were put in the budget to address exactly that little nuance. When something goes up and something goes down, you can take that state aid and make it more equitable to both the residents of the former village and the town.
Are there any advantages in state aid or per capita aid if you're combining one? Because at the time this was done, the way it worked is the town collected per capita aid for the entire town, including West Point.
Which is
Today,
beautiful.
the village collected per capita aid for the village. If you became a super village, the town was a shadow government, and the new government for the whole thing was a village, and you got double aid. You got it as a town and as a village. So there was big financial advantage to forming a village that encompassed all of the boundaries of the town. I don't think that's the case anymore. But are there any advantages financially as far as any kind of state aid or things with consolidation, other than this grant program?
If we became a super village?
Yeah.
My vague recollection is that it was mostly the CHIPS money, and I think that's a relatively small dollar amount. It's much smaller than what is being offered for the consolidation.
Much
incentive.
smaller.
Yeah, like 25,000 or 28,000 this past year, and you're looking at close to $1 million, depending on where our levy falls out. So,
I'm not aware of that as, what Charlie's aware of, I'm aware of the same. That's the information we given by the state. When we talked, we didn't bring up super village, but neither did they. I know that was something that was talked about in the past, and a couple of people asked me, why don't we do a super village? Mainly the police, as they want
Could be
to
free.
stay charged. But right now, none of the other consolidations are moving toward the super village. And I believe that's coming down from the state. They want towns, they don't want the villages.
well, the town is required constitutionally. Villages are.
It's a business, it's a
Right.
corporation.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, as far as just one little last thing, and then definitely about, just so you know, because you had mentioned debt, the debt does stay with the district. There will be 3 different debts that the village will be paying off if we consolidate. The water debt will stay with the water, sewer debt will stay with the sewer, and the general debt with the village will stay with the village. So when we consolidate, the town, that doesn't spread out over the town. I tried, I gave it a shot. But no, it definitely stays with the village, just so we're aware.
I have a comment. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
I was just going to end that part. In here, it says tax equity is not possible under state law without merging the 2 governments. And when you talked about the assessments, once the 2 governments are merged, that's where your assessment becomes a little more equalized. So
It was originally,
it is
Fred
true that
Brennan
Fort
was the guy,
Montgomery is.
Fred was the guy that came up with the super village. He was the proponent.
Well, there's a part in here about not super village, they don't call it super village, but they talk about
Coterminous.
the extending into the town, West Point and parts of Bear Mountain, but it's not really recommended. The state law basically says that the town is under the state charter, is the legal government, and that's just the way it is. Years later, it basically tells you how all the villages merge.
It wasn't a state
You can still
constitution.
keep your own
You
zip
can't
code,
do
you
that.
can still be Highland Falls,
Right.
There was
you
just
still
like a
be Fort
corporation.
Montgomery,
That's all.
but you will have one government. The town of there's a lot of examples here. Elizabethtown has.
One thing that should be stressed too, before this can go for a real vote, a referendum, the village and the town have to put together, well, it's really incumbent on the village, a plan that would address these special districts, so the voters know what they can expect. So there's a lot of hard planning work that has to go on before.
No, you're talking about complete dissolution.
Right, yeah. Not the police. The police also requires planning, but it's not.
But not to the extent of.
Right.
I'm not even sure if that has to be a referendum?
Permissive.
Permissive, okay.
In the next couple of weeks, the Board of Education, members of the Board of Education are going to go through the former elementary school on Mount Avenue. And then we're going to have a discussion as to what to do with it. And I think the opinion of the board is that whatever we can do to help the municipalities here and also nonprofit organizations, if we can, with the building, will probably be on the table in the next coming weeks. So that might be something that could, as a catalyst to help maybe the village and the town combine, maybe in terms of a location or facilities for other matters. But we're definitely looking into that, and I think it's a very good possibility in the very near future. So.
Thank you.
The ambulance, I believe is a town-wide ambulance district, correct? That's easy. You have the Fort Montgomery Fire District, which could not be dissolved without approval of the fire district. If the village was dissolved and the whole community just was governed under the town government, then would they have to form a district for the Highland Falls area, which is now in the village? Is that the way you would do it?
I've talked to both fire departments, similar to the same way I went with the police. They have an amount of information to make, because they know, and it's been looming, and people talked about it in the past. I would rather get the recommendations from the fire departments of how they feel it would be best serve the community. But that's one way. There is a second way. I need to know how. They may not get what they want, because we may say that's not the best way. We appreciate the recommendation, but that's not the best for the community. But I would rather get the recommendation from the fire departments, and they know that I've talked to them, several of the officers in length about it, about the fact that it's coming. And rather than catch it at the end, we'd rather have your recommendations up front so that it's a much easier transition, just like all the others.
I tried about 10 years ago to combine the two departments. I figured right off the bat you could eliminate two pieces of equipment. Your manpower pool would increase to about 80 or 90. The fire department of Fort Montgomery voted unanimously to pursue it. We had a meeting with a lot of the senior members from Highland Falls came down. They were on board 100%. And then the general population of the Highland Falls Fire Department too. It was because, and I'll say this right out publicly, it was because of the West Point Fire Department influence and the Highland Falls Fire Department that they wanted to keep Highland Falls as an area where they could respond to all the time and increase their calls. And that killed. I thought it was a wonderful idea, and then my idea beyond that was to incorporate the ambulance corps and make it a total emergency services for the whole community, all one group. And didn't go.
Just one quick comment on the ambulance. If you put the ambulance in with the fire department, you can't do third-party payers.
That's right, you can't.
Financially, it doesn't work. They have to stay separate.
Unless we figure out how to build for
You
fires.
could be in a
Build for
common
fires.
building.
That's
You
true.
could be in a common building.
Oh, sure.
If you have enough room there in Fort
We should
Montgomery,
do
No, you're not saving any money on personnel generally, but you could save on housing, you know.
But
And if we did, that means that building itself would be fully consolidated. And that was the best thing, if it was the best thing for the town, that building itself could now go and be sold or used for commercial purposes, because the police would be, because we can't put a whole police department in that building. So the police would be somewhere, and the ambulance would be somewhere, and that would give another building, again, assets.
See, to me, with the fire department, it was so simple. You would have the Town of Highlands Fire District, the Fort Montgomery Fire Company, and the Highland Falls Fire Company. Everybody would retain their identity. You would fall under one district It would have its own governmental body and right of taxation, and you could have saved a lot of money.
Put this ban
I
on
couldn't,
TV.
I couldn't get it to go.
Done.
And if it is a town, that's exactly what more than likely would happen. It would be one district with two companies.
But could you have a fire protection district that would be different from the,
Yes.
independent
Yeah.
taxing unit district?
Fire protection districts have kind of fallen out of favor. Basically, a fire protection district is a private corporation that contracts with the community for fire protection. The community that pays for it has no control over it other than the money they give them to provide the protection. That, in a lot of areas, has been dissolved into a district that has the right of taxation, where the fire protection district is not. So they're not as popular. Garrison was a fire protection district, and now they're a district.
Goodwill is, but it's a huge responsibility for the company supplying the protection.
That's right.
To, as a volunteer company, to be able to provide us with protection.
Well, it obviously seems, with representatives from both groups, that that's already taken care of. So I appreciate that.
We tried, didn't work.
It's done, no, well, here's but this is the thing, and this is the beautiful thing if we all get on board. It's not gonna matter what influence there is. Show the obviously, I'm looking at two senior people that have, senior meaning you're been there and you know everything
A
going
lot
on.
of years.
That know the groups and know their wants. This sounds like a done deal. And all it's not up to you then. You tell us it's the best thing. We'll make it happen.
You think there's politics in local government?
Oh my Lord, I know, no, oh, I
Fire
know.
department.
But see, that's the thing is that, unless I'm mistaken, as long as you're telling us that it's the best way, meaning both fires, and there's little problems here and there, we see the numbers, we can get rid of some pieces, and that's not even on you guys anymore to have to fight amongst each other. That's going to be on the boards to say, town and village boards say it's a done deal. That's what's best for the community. I think at consolidation, when we consolidate, I think that's going to be on the town board to make that decision. It's not going to be the fire department's decision at that point because Highland Falls will have to go somewhere. And again, having that plan ahead of time, that's the key. Putting it out to the public, no surprises, this is what's best. And there's always going to be, I'll look at you in particular, people who donated equipment, trucks. You know, we excise your truck. What are you excising my truck for? There's always going to be someone that's going to have an issue. But we have to look what's best. And I know I'm going to take some hits. We have to look what's best for the community. Moving forward. We can say it out loud, we can whisper it. We're losing residents that have been here all their life because of taxes. Fact. They're not moving south because they feel like it's time to get out. 50-year-olds are moving south because they can't afford it. It's not because I'm going to go to Florida because I'm going to spend my twilight years. I'm going to Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina because that's all I can afford. That's what's happening. Somewhere where they've been for 50 years, their family's been for 3 generations, and they're leaving. I can afford to stay here. I hate my taxes. I can afford it. But I don't know if my kids can. I want them to stay here. I look at some of the families that have been here for 4 and 5 generations, and there's 50 of that family in the area, and that is what I want. I want my kids to stay. I don't want, as soon as they get out of O'Neill, thank God, I'm out of here and never come back to this community. I want all of my kids to know that this is the place they call home. They can afford a house here, and I want everyone else's to do that. I think we have a special community. And we're losing special people strictly on the fact of cash. So if we take a couple of cuts, and it hurts, and they heal, and our community is that much better. But I agree with Jim, and I'm glad because Jim is going to naysay everything. Because he is going to look at every line, and we need that. We can't, because that's exactly what our treasurer does. He's looking at every line, and we're finding $10,000, and we're finding $5,000, $400. That's exactly what Jim's talking about. Whether or not you're in favor of it, whether you're not, if it's a good thing, I know he'll be for it. but you have to show it. And we have to show all the residents, you know, this is a good thing. Now, there's some areas, again, as you pointed out, they're not gonna be $100,000 savings everywhere. But combined, efficiency is the goal. And at our level in particular, getting rid of the village government, having one board to talk to for outside things, I believe is going to be huge for this community. Having to elect 5 people instead of 10, more quality. When we have 10 board members in the village and town and another 7 in the school, we've got to find 17 qualified people in a small community. We have a lot of intelligent people, but we're also very busy. So if I'm going to be on the board for 10 years or 8 years, I'm going to get off and someone else has to come on. Having fewer spots gives us we're almost out of space.
I'm no hurry.
Gives us the opportunity to get the best, and that goes to all the departments.
Quick question. So combining everything, dissolving the village, still having to pay, the village having to pay their debts, their sewer, water, and general debt. Who would be in charge of generating those bills?
Town. That would just be part of, I would assume.
Just asking.
Right, I would assume
It's
that.
not an assumption as far as, in several years ago. Some of the paragraphs will say, after the village has cleared their debts, the town takes over. So I think it depends on how we work it out.
But Jim's just talking about.
The person.
Who's sending out a bill?
Clerk, right.
Which again, to me, and this is where,
The bill's gonna
Right.
be whoever.
but in my opinion, and again, this is gonna be by basic thing, but to me, again, with going with efficiency, it's a number, it's on a computer, you have to pay an extra $300
Taking,
because you're covering debt.
so,
And we just go on.
not losing personnel that's in place now, personnel that works in the village could be transferred into the town.
Correct.
And maybe take on that role in generating those bills.
Well, they already generate the bills, but those, I actually see those bills being generated. But see, then, that's when, again, to me, we're gonna rely on the town board and the village board, we're gonna talk about structure. One, again, all the jobs, in my opinion, we have a very valuable staff here. But at the same time, there are similar jobs. There are things we don't have. What we don't have is a grant writer. What we don't have is someone who this, someone who that. I think these two staffs coming together would really gel well, and not just that, we can fill some of the possible holes, whether they be in the town or the village. And after a year or two, make that determination. We have 6 people in the clerk's office. We only need 5. The way you do that is attrition. At some point, someone's leaving. You don't fill the spot. You don't fire someone. I wouldn't, and I had the opportunity. I thought I was gonna fire everybody. I wouldn't fire anyone in the staff. I think we have a really good staff. I think they will work together with the town very well. But I see so much can be accomplished, you know? And I don't know the town, but I can't imagine having an additional person helping Kelly, just one of the staff member, that more isn't gonna get done, or gonna get done quicker, or we can now take on more that we could never take on before. Because they're so,
Better ask Kelly that.
well, no, there's no way she's not overwhelmed, there's no way.
Oh, she can do it, but she has no space.
We'll find some space.
She's got 3 desks in one room.
I want to say a couple of things. I've been, I think I missed one of those that Dave was on, but I was on the English Consolidation Committee. We had another one, we did another time. When I was on the planning board, we actually tried to do a new master plan that would incorporate consolidation, but it turned out that the village took one planner that I got and the town took another one, so that didn't work out too well. But there have always been really 3 reasons to consolidate that are very powerful, and a couple of reasons not to. And you get a look at these, and this has been a really good discussion that I heard tonight. First place, really, whether you want to save it or not, saving money is the bottom line as far as the taxes. You drop those taxes, you turn the whole village and town around. People start wanting to, oh, there's a future here. We've done something better. And you do that from efficiencies, yes, but you do, if I got 5 guys working in one place and 5 guys working in another, I always have to have somebody backup. I always have to have somebody in reserve. When I put the two together, I now got 1 guy can be in reserve rather than 2 guys. It's just common sense, really, what we're talking about. But you know you're going to save money, you know you're going to use you're going to be able to speak with one voice, and we talked about that. With West Point, they never can understand how there can be 2 governments outside the gate. It just doesn't make any sense from a rational point of view, so they said, these guys don't know what the hell they're doing, a bunch of clowns out there, you know. They don't say that, but that's kind of in the back of their...
What
They do, I've heard of it.
What they do say
It's
is West
because of
Point
the
is not part of the
population.
town. They
The
don't understand that they are.
Yeah. It's the population we have. If you talk about Elizabethtown, New York, that merged,
Yeah.
they have 30,000 people. We have 6. So it's the point of 10 miles total and 6,000 people that absolutely doesn't warrant it. Maybe turn of the century, when Fort Montgomery was little cottages living on vacant land.
But the reason's not to...
But that's typically how everybody started out in New York.
And townships have more money coming in.
But for us, we
federal
are
money coming
We
so
wanted more
late
services in
in
the
our
village, so we had
population ratio
so
to
we
our
had to form-
departments.
Had to form a corporation, we had to pay for the extra services that we needed because more people in one place. So it kind of grew. And that was the trend at the time, and it didn't cost that much, really. Because, you know, just,
Right.
but now it does, because over time, all these things got more and more expensive. And really, a person now costs a whole lot more than a person cost back then. So the things that have kept us from doing it have always been a couple of things. One thing we haven't talked about, but the biggest thing is really, I would say, fear of change. You know, we don't really know what we're getting into. It's always been that way, and good Lord, if we're going to really change things, you know, my dad...
But, John, I think there has been a change occurring because it really surprised me when we did the informal poll that the response was all positive, and by and large, people were looking for improved efficiency and improved services above the cost savings, which seems to
Well,
run
that's
counter.
impressive.
Yeah.
That means people are thinking more rationally. But the other thing, there is an emotional issue about this is the village, and it's got the village, and this is the town, and then we're Fort Montgomery, we're separate. So there's an emotional level that we kind of ignoring it. It's there. It's probably not big, but it does come out at certain times with certain people when you talk to them.
We would still have
People
a
that live in
post
the fort
office.
that-
There's-
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing that's-
The population has changed.
And Jim, I got your
As
comment.
well, and 30 years.
It's also a mindset that we've got to get over. Everyone says the village and the town. It's really not the village and the town. It's the village in Fort Montgomery.
Yep.
Town government is all of us. A
Right.
lot of people oversee that when they say, it's the village and the town, 2 separate things. No, it's the town and the village, inside the town. And for those, and that's where when we come down to any kind of a vote, which is why it needs to be 100% Fort Montgomery and Highland Falls, we're all agreeing to, as much as we can, the same thing. Right now, the villagers pay village taxes, and they pay A-line taxes on the town. On the B line for the town, there's only 5 items. That's it. And 3 of them are small. So right now, the villagers are paying a majority of the taxes throughout. And we are getting services. And it's not, and that's something else. I looked at a house in Fort Montgomery. I actually wanted a house in Fort Montgomery. My wife wouldn't take it. She liked the one up by Civic Park. That's where we lived. I would have been a Fort Montgomery resident. I don't think it matters. When you look at, and there's been a discussion brought up about, we have to look at the future. There's been a discussion brought up about the infrastructure of the village. I see a bigger infrastructure in Fort Montgomery coming. Okay, we need more water and sewer down in Fort Montgomery. If we're gonna build, even though they called that land in back of the Fort Montgomery Firehouse, Highland Falls, that's Fort Montgomery. If we're ever able to get the land we put our act together, we go to the government and we show them why we need the land. Any more development in this community is gonna be more in Fort Montgomery than anywhere else. So we have to not look at Fort Montgomery versus Highland Falls. We need to look at what's best for the entire town. And the money that's going to come from the government, and I understand, Pat, that's great, and that's great 20 years from now. Next year, I don't want to be doubling my taxes because you guys decided to consolidate. That's why the governors put that money aside. That's not going to be spread out evenly. That's going to be spread out to offset the differences in taxes. Everyone doesn't get $500 in the whole community. If the Fort Montgomery community is hit, and that's when Charlie was doing one of these, if the Fort Montgomery is hit with higher taxes, they're going to get the majority of the 80%. It's going to go to bring it back down so that you are encouraged, because of the consolidation, they know we're going to be spending less money as a community because we're going to get more efficient, we're going to get better served, and we're going to look at ourselves more efficiently. That's why they're offering that. Not just to say, we want people to consolidate so we have less people we have to talk to. They see the benefits of it, but they see the concerns. That's great leveling off in 5 years. I can't pay my taxes today. So next year I can't pay twice as much. That's why that's there. Jim?
There's a couple things, but just on this point that you were just on, you said Fort Montgomery would be higher and the money would go there. Hold on, wait. But if we have districts, which it seems like we're going to have, I don't see how theirs would go up.
No one's saying we're having districts. One. Districts will be looked into, and right now we have districts for water and sewer. I don't see districts for police. I don't see districts for DPW. I mean, we may be talking about lighting and one or two other things, but not for DPW or planning or zoning.
I know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's all the different departments.
But I just think districts are going to divide us just like the two-party system that we have. That's just my opinion.
I understand what you're saying.
And then back to a couple of paragraphs before, I take offense to what Mr. Dodson said about how West Point views the community outside. Because we had a town and a village. And before we lost our land in eminent domain,
It's their fault, right?
and the people that are there now have no clue of what everybody lost and what the potential could have been should that land have been developed. So that's where I take offense to when the uneducated person at West Point does not know the history of the village. That's just
I agree with
There's
100%.
a big book, Jimmy, that you might want to look into. It's an old book, and the library had it, where most of the people, now I don't know about all of the area, on 293, they were delighted to sell to West Point, and it's an old, not a novel, but almost like a documentary. They loved coming into the village. The farming wasn't working. They had no services, and they got a top dollar for that. Started in 1914, went to 1923, and then it went to the 40s. So it kind of linked up with history, war preparation, and some necessities. I mean, I'm not saying to change your mind, but it's a little different story, and it's a documentary of actual facts from the selling. So the people at that time were happy.
At that time, and
That's
at that
it.
time, how was
Also-
the
Well,
economy?
it's like the Indians were
But-
happy to get $7,000.
Okay, I don't want to go in this. I don't want to go in this direction at all.
I'm just saying, it may help you
The referendum you mentioned.
realize what was going on at the time.
It's for complete, what is it for?
Please.
And it's going to be on the ballot in November.
Well, we said we need a permissive referendum.
For, yeah.
Please.
Now, the consolidation, the whole thing.
Would have to be right. So when are you,
It's
when
much
are you
more
taking the action which will cause it for Mr. Reverend?
Well, that's what I actually called up there to find out a schedule. That's, if I don't say November, it'll be 3 years from now. I'm calling, there's 2 times that I don't want to spend any more money on any kind of a special election. If we don't get it for November, we're going to try to do it in March. But I have a call up to Mr. Rokel, who was the gentleman that was down and met us, to give us a schedule. I did email him, and he emailed me back a couple times on, I do have Al Fusco looking into 3 or 4 other grants of being able to put it together. I am, because I did get your message, I did print out, and I am finishing up the application. It's a monthly application on an assistant to help us put together the actual,
The $25,000 one?
right, to do the police. And actually do the whole thing, but they would do the police first, and they would piecemeal it with us. They're not going to say, we're not gonna get the grant because you guys aren't doing complete dissolution. If you're doing if you're telling us you're gonna dissolve or consolidate, and you're gonna do it by piece, you can get the grant, and we'll help you along the way. But that's where we are right now.
So it's called functional consolidation.
Right.
So we're doing one function at a time.
But to have the final dissolving the whole bid, you have to have a plan in place.
Correct.
And that's there's a lot of work in that plan.
Yeah.
It's gotta be-
And that's why we're not doing it.
Right.
We've got to pull in a professional to
And
do
we've
it.
got to get a grant.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest impediment to the town of Highlands has always been the total amount of federal and state land that's here. The school district knows that better than anybody. In the paper, I read that the village is now faced with the possibility of one of the larger chunks in the village down by Pine Terrace
Right.
being sold to an organization that, upon request, could be taken off the tax rolls.
See, I disagree strenuously with that. I
How do you
honestly do not
prevent
believe that
that?
if we say that we do not want to dedicate it as parkland, that just because it's owned by a not-for-profit, they still have to pay the taxes. It is not a religious use, it's a land trust. And you can serve open space. If it's not accessible to the public and we don't accept it as a park, I still stand behind my view that it stays on the tax rolls.
Unless they turn it over to the Palisades Park and then you're sunk.
But
Yeah.
And in
town-
addition, it will not be developed, which,
well, that's the larger issue, that it's not, it's
Now, I think
great
the
as
town
best use.
personally missed a vote on the Strongman property for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was the only place really in the community where the public could have access to the river reasonably. And an expansion of the sewer plant in Fort Montgomery is virtually impossible without the property on the land side. I thought the town should have got that property for the community. Is there any way, and this would be up to the village, it'd be a hell of a step,
We are.
to try and obtain the property either through purchase or eminent domain? And then, because the way that, and I don't agree with this, but a year or two ago, the US Supreme Court had a ruling where a municipality could condemn public property and then turn it over to a developer if the tax implications were great enough. I mean, that might be something that the village might be able to consider to keep that from going, either never to be developed or as a tax exempt piece.
Right. The Hudson Highland Land Trust was not the group that's going after it. I was in contact with him about the marina. I did send him an email about that property as well. We had talked about, everyone knows 10 or so years ago, the village had an opportunity to get the marina for the village, and that fell through. He wanted to pursue it again because the gentleman who owns the marina right now is looking to sell. And we don't want that to go anywhere. But the good thing about when this gentleman from the Hudson Highland Land Trust talked to us, he said, yeah, we definitely we'll see if we can help you raise money so you can get that back to the village. But you can't take it off the rolls. He understands our situation. And I sent him an email so that we can find out, can you help us This one's not in jeopardy right now. We have an owner, he's paying tax, it's okay. This one's in jeopardy. Can you help us try and find money there? For us to come up with several $1 million, which is what would be needed, would be very tough. But the bottom line is, I look at Lady Cliff. What are we losing? You know, if we come up with that $3 to $4 million, I would definitely not put it for non-development. I would definitely put it up for not putting up 1,000 condos,
Maybe 500.
but definitely $1 million houses. You know, they're so creative today that they can put houses and you won't even know it's there. You know, unfortunately, the camera's on. Unfortunately, someone lives across from that property that is the head of a group that may not want us to put anything there. But this is another reason why consolidation, in my opinion, is key. We're so busy worrying about each other and the 3 feet around us that we're not seeing the big pictures that you're talking about. We're not, and even though he was upset with what John said, I believe that too. I live here, and I don't bad them for that because they don't know us individually. They see what our actions are. They see what we did with the land that we had. They hear the stories over the years of the infighting between the two governments and the fact that we're a block away. So I don't blame them for, we see them as, I mean, we have a lot of words for what we see them as. When I work with the Boy Scouts and other groups on West Point, they're just like us. We just don't know each other. And that's another wall I think consolidation will break down. I think it will help us to break down the wall to West Point so that we can access that more. People talk about Annapolis and how that in bad weather, the trucks inside the academy come outside and help the city plow. It's fact, that's what they did. They don't do that because 1, we haven't pursued it, and 2, we haven't told them the fact that we are the host community, not Highland Falls. And they deal with Highland Falls 90% more than they deal with the town. And that's idiotic because they're in the town. They're not in Highland Falls. The town of Highland is the host community for West Point. And you can't tell me you're not because are you in Orange County? Are you in New York? West Point is in New York. West Point's in Orange County. Then for a fact, West Point is in the town of Highlands. I believe that's one of the bigger pieces that we have. Hundreds of thousands, millions upon millions of dollars that with the right people, which I believe are already living in this community, we get together and we start looking at bigger pictures. The land down here. Do we as a community want to keep it green? I'll tell you what, I would if I was on the river more and looking at it. I never am because we're always working. So I'd rather a couple nice houses go up there and get some money for it. Same thing with, and that's the other thing. Talk about the Fort Montgomery Marina. Let's talk about the park, Rose Camp, and the other pieces. When we talk about 9W and other areas, you'll never get it. You'll never get West Point. First of all, it's not West Point's decision. They're part of it. It's our government. It's the people who we pay. And it's a mindset. And if we're not one, and we're not one community, we'll never break out of paying high taxes and not getting what we have. We have the gem. Everybody goes to us about it. It's the unpolished gem. We have one of the best spots on the Hudson. We are one of the, with the exception of just getting it now, forever, one of the only communities on the Hudson that never had any riverfront park area. And we fell into it. And thank God we got something now. And we're just building that now. Communities that are half our wherewithal have 2, let alone 3. And we've lived on the Hudson all our lives, and our kids never play on the Hudson unless we can get into South Dock, and hopefully the gates aren't closed. That's what we have to start looking at. We deserve a lot more. We've been paid for a lot more and not getting it. As one group, and yes, there's going to be stumbling blocks, as we said. And there's going to be, as in anything, there's going to be some people that are going to be not happy. But I believe, and no one's taking my word, I guarantee that. Being in this office 2 years, nobody's taking my word for it. But we will show, with the numbers, and with examples of other consolidations, why it's going to make it. It's not going to be perfect, it never will. But that's That's a huge piece of why we need to do this. We need to stop the petty antics of nickel and diming. We need to develop 9W. We need to make sure all of our properties are secure. And properties even within the village that have been broken down for years. It took us over 5 years to get one house, small house, torn down that should have been torn down 5 years ago. There's another 10 houses that should be torn down right now. And these absentee landlords need to be forced, but as a group, as a one community together, we put these things on the wall. Can we do it in the village? Yes, we can. Can we do it in the town? Yes, we can. Can we do it separately? Yes. It's not going to happen as efficiently and as strongly as it can if we're all together. And I would love to see more competition between Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery, but under the town umbrella. Not the village in town. Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery. And the fire department's tug of war, I love it. When we do cool things like that, I think it's great. But I cringe now. After a year and a half now, I cringe when people say village and town. Because it just, to me, it's we're wasting our time. And there are bigger issues that we're not taking on. And I apologize, I monopolized the conversation and I'm not supposed to.
One example is this wastewater plant, which West Point's going to end up paying mostly for and going to give us if we can pull it off. It would only finance that, the group we found, if the village and the town would come together as a team and become basically one unit for their purposes. Because for any financing group, for anything major, $50, $100 million, it doesn't make any sense, and they don't see how it could work otherwise. So they say consolidation, you speak to me both together and then I'll talk to you. Otherwise, I don't want to do this. So it's something that your power sort of goes up geometrically when the two come together and speak with one voice. And it's one of the things that's held us back for the 35 years that I've been here, for sure. You know, again, I think it's an emotional thing. I think when people see the example and they see some of the things that can happen, the positive things, and the developers who would come if things were a little simpler for them, you will have growth, you will have a tax base that will give us what we really wanted to have here in the first place. We can only grow so much. We're always going to be a small place in one sense. It's a beautiful place. We don't want it more than it needs to be, but it can be a far more pleasant place to live and a more affordable place to live for those here, with better schools and better services if we do it together.
Unless Jim, you'll be the last one, and then I'm going to end because we've been here.
I asked at the town meeting on Monday about the sewer consolidation. And it seemed the town said they were getting it, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, the short end of the stick, correct?
Oh, I'm not sure if that's the word, but the village really has the plant and the majority of the sewer lines and mains and customers, and I think that's where they were coming from.
Right, and then my next question was,
Town's getting over, actually. The town outside the village.
well, my next question was, again, going back to districts. I mean, if we're gonna have one big plant, it should all be one, and say we wanted to get sewer mains all the way out on Mintorn Road, up Canterbury. You know, we should all be paying to enhance the village through that system. And if, you know, if that's the case, then the village and the town would also be helping West Point to get their new lines down here, if it was all in one package. And then I was informed, no, it wouldn't be like that. It would be 50, 25, 25. And those are preliminary figures, which is fine. But, you know, with that being said, it doesn't seem like it's all one ball of wax. It seems like there's 3 candles lit here.
There's 3 candles lit only because we're not consolidated yet. Understand that will all become part of the town, and that's why the town has to be part of the discussion, and has to be in favor of it, because the town's going to end up bottom line. Right now, as it stands, there will always be districts for water and sewer, unless, as a community, the people that don't pay for it now say, you know what, I would rather give a couple $100. I'd rather give $500, $600 a year to help you guys out. I may never get water and sewer. That's a reality that I can't, someone on top of Canterbury, top of mine, may never get. some of these things, and that's why the districts are there. That's something in a different discussion. But just so we understand, as far as this consolidation, the way I look at it for the village and town, as much as I want to help my neighbor, West Point, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm only pursuing it for cash. I am here because that's going to make us a lot of money. And it's going to upgrade our system, and not just the village. That's going to make the village and the town a lot of money. That's customers. And we are going to pursue more than just the sewer. We're going to pursue the energy. We're going to pursue everything. This is an opportunity for us to capitalize. They're privatizing everything. They're privatizing everything on West Point. What's happening is their alumni and other people, and not bad the alumni because they're intelligent.
Hold on, so we're privatizing everything up on West Point, but we can't get any ratables out of the hotel rooms that are up there. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's something Charlie's been working on, and it's a process, and two, it is something we're pursuing aggressively. It's not something we talked about and never did it. But now is the time, and it's going to be over. In 2 to 5 years, the privatization, the actual control of it, whether it's finished or not, is going to be over. Because there's enough alumni, just like what happened at the fair, there's enough alumni that realize the potential here. And though you may not know it because it's a Canadian company, Balfour Beatty has alumni involved, West Point alumni. They're not stupid. They're good people. Let's get them on our side. I want West Point alumni more because we have some. We have some West Point alumni that live here. I'd like more to move in. Some of them pay their bills. I'm not really offended by it. And they're good. When we actually get to know them, they are good people. But as a community, I don't want to let this go. We're talking about millions of dollars, and we're talking about millions of dollars possibly a year. If we can get sewer, energy, water, the whole nine, controlled in our town, and all that is a separate company. It's not me going to work going, I got to run the sewer plant today.
Where would you build it?
It's not, you don't, well, the sewer plant will be done down on the thing, but these other things,
I mean, where would you put a large enough sewer plant in the town of Highlands to take care of West Point, Farm, everything that was?
right now there's 2 locations in there, there's a whole thing going on right now with engineers and whatnot. The existing, they're looking at the existing place for growth.
The what?
On Friday, we're walking the 3 sites.
Reason is the Fort Montgomery sewer plant, everything is geared and gravity where possible, it's going south.
Right.
So now to run it any other direction would be a major calamity. Originally, it was going to go from Highland Falls to Fort Montgomery by the railroad, and the whole community was going to be there, and that fell apart. Now to get the Conrail to let you to run a line to pump it north to Highland, toward West Point or Highland Falls would be even more difficult. The town of Highlands, the Fort Montgomery Sewer District plant, first of all, it's almost paid off.
I know.
Number 2, it's running with 2 part-time people. How could you ever save a penny by doing anything different?
Well, it's my understanding that we're going for a $3 million grant upgrade. A loan. 25% is a grant, 75% has to be paid back. So I agree, the plan is in good shape. It needs upgrades, and it needs, but if it doesn't, are you looking at me funny?
The village point? Yeah, the village point?
No, Fort Montgomery.
Well, they talked, they also
But
talked, they also
we're
talked
going way
at the
over.
town meeting about the lift stations, correct? Right.
But you know what,
No, I'm
that's,
just saying,
right.
They talked about.
But that's the other thing, under one government, there is no them, us, them, us, them, us. If that plan is sustainable as is, then leave it. Now let's look 5, 10 years down the road. Let's not wait till we're there, we need it, and we'll pay triple the amount. The second anything breaks on 9W as far as development, are we ready for that? And should we let's plan for it, not build a bigger plant, but know what we have to do. Do we need a new site? Will we not be able to build anything there? Do we have to find something else? Can we pump it up? Is it cheaper? These things have to be investigated now and cost as little as possible to do so, rather than waiting for, well, they're starting to develop and build, and we need this, we're gonna need more sewer, we're gonna need more water, we don't have it. That's why with the water plant we're looking at right now, we have the water. We have it, we're done. We're okay. There's 5 or 6 things we have to do. We have to dredge our existing water supplies. so we have a better water supply, but we have to increase the capacity of the plant. And it's not gonna happen tomorrow, and it's not gonna happen in a year or two. But if we plan today, in 3 to 5 years, when we're gonna need it, I wanna live here in a community that's double our size. I want 10,000 people. Because our Main Street and Fort Montgomery's Main Street is not prosperous. We're surviving, we're holding on. Businesses are coming and going with the exception of Staples, and the majority of the food businesses are only existing because the deliveries are on West Point. So we're not supporting ourselves. We're cannibalizing one of our schools. And they're considering closing the second one depending on enrollment. That's how low we are. We need more people here, and it's not just filling the houses that are for sale. Corbin Hill went up. It's not vacant. They've got a couple empty houses, but they're filled. If we do more, we'll get more people here. Higher end houses, people that can afford it, people that will invest in the community. That's what we need. We need enough to save our schools and to have a prosperous Main Street. I want a quick check. I want it. They're not going to come here with 6,000 people. They're not going to do it, even if we put it on IW. But with 12,000, my bigger. And I love it. There are things that people in here don't want to go to New Windsor. People that live here. I love all our guests. I love all our visitors. But they're secondary. Primary people is people who have been paying the bills here every day for the last 50 years.
You know, you're talking about Main Street. You ever been to Suffern?
Yes.
It's great. I mean, once in a while you see a vacant store. There is a parking meter in sight. Not a parking meter.
I am on the
in
same page
sight.
with you. I am on the
All parking meters do.
Talk to my board members.
They piss off the tourists and make them not want to come back.
Talk to my board members. Mr. Thomas and you were on the same page. But Suffern's a little bit bigger, and they have a little more people to support their stores, put it out there. But I am for it. I don't know if you saw that meeting. 2 meetings in a row, I pushed to get rid of the meters. I'm not saying it's been my board.
Andrew Ariscoff told me the city, they eliminated the lines on the street, got more cars parked on the same street. People tend to boogie up to each other. So without lines, they got more cars on the same street.
That's interesting.
But, I mean, I know, I'm about to say that the set of the parking spaces, I can fit 2 of my cars in, but then I see the pickup trucks come down Camper Lunch and they need that space. You know, so I guess,
They can take one space, you can take 2. But
I don't think parking meters help a thing.
Do we need to?
I agree. I looked at the give and take, the money coming in and the money spent.
For what you spend, what you do in repairs, having a police officer collect the money, are you really making any money on it?
I'd love for you to come to one of those board meetings. That's it. Thank you so much. Come on, Mr. Thomas, you are a phenomenal voice. You got it.